Hi, everyone. It's Dee. This is the very first episode of Spiritually Speaking series, and I am super, super excited to be bringing you this series because this is something that is so prevalent in my world, and I'm leaning so much more into my spiritual side that I wanted to bring this forward so we could have an honest conversation about all the things that are spiritual and how we journey through them. I'm definitely still on my own journey, so, for this very first episode, I have my wonderful, amazing friend Jessica with me, who I have had so many of these types of conversations with. And I'm super excited to have you here today, Jess. So, thanks for joining me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Dee. It's exciting.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Oh my gosh, it's like we have had so many of these conversations, and some of them pretty wild from just we have learned so much over the years, I think, of our journey and
Oh,
and our
absolutely.
and our journeys have been so different. So I'd like to maybe just start out with some stories about how we began into these really
Okay.
super spiritual conversations. So do you remember any of our first conversations about this type of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like one of those moments where you remember what you were doing and where you were. And um, yeah, I was getting my oil changed, and you had called me because I had been on your mind. And yeah, I had recently realized that I am a medium. It was kind of freaky. Always had, kind of strange things as a child happen here and there. Always felt different. Um, and one day I came home from work. I was like 36 years old, I think. Came home from work, and I parked my car, happened to look over at my porch, and I see I knew it was spirit instantly, but someone walking down my steps of my porch towards my vehicle, and it freaked me out. I didn't know what to think. It all happened so fast, and I was just like, oh my gosh, go away, go away, go away. And they went away. But I was like, what just happened? I knew I could see through him. I knew it was a spirit, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was truly amazing and scary
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're not used to it and you see that spirit for the first time, if it's something that, you know, it's startling, sometimes not
Mhm.
necessarily scary as much as it is startling to some people,
Yes.
So, and do you remember him saying was it a him or a her? Was it him?
It was a him. I remember exactly what he looked like, and no, he never said anything. Well, he didn't get a chance. I told him to go away too quick, pretty quickly, and he did. I never did find out who he was,
Yeah.
but I remember him very, very clearly.
Yeah.
Can tell you what he was wearing.
That's so cool. So even though he was kind of transparent, you could still see what he was wearing.
Yes. Yeah. I don't see spirit too often. Um, Maybe, a couple handful of times. I don't normally see them with my eyes. I sense and feel them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
I
been
can
it's
like
been
see
an
them in my mind.
oh, so you get kind of like a sense of them, like an impression.
Yeah, and I can see them in my mind, like a picture.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's so interesting to me how different mediums experience things in a different way. And I totally remember when when you first told me because I was shopping and I couldn't get you off my brain. And so like I just called you and you were like, I just realized I'm a medium. And I was like, well, I already knew that, but having that experience and realizing that and learning through it. So I want to talk about your journey with your mediumship. So how has that developed for you in over the years since you first realized that you had that ability?
Um, I think it has gotten stronger, for sure, through doing readings and practicing. It's been different. Not something I can share or talk about with everyone, unfortunately. Maybe in the future. It is becoming much more widely accepted, which is great, but a lot of learning, a lot of curves,
Yeah.
curveballs. But yeah, I've just been trying to kind of get it stronger, develop those skills, where could be lacking, kind of get those stronger.
Yeah. So I know, if you don't mind sharing, I know I personally know, since we're friends and we've talked about this so many times, that there have been times during your journey where you have resisted your gift and weren't you like kind of shut it out for a while. So can you talk about that and maybe how that worked for you and why you made the choice to kind of close that off?
Yeah, it was well, when I first realized I was a medium, it was difficult because in the Bible it says that stay away from mediums, they're bad. But I just felt like, why would I have this if it weren't for good? Because I would never use it, for anything other than. And I even prayed and asked, God, take this from me if I am not supposed to have this, if I'm not supposed to use this, and I still have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I use it just to pass along messages and hopefully give people some healing. But when I don't know, there was a time I think I was just kind of going through a lot of depression and just wasn't in a good space spiritually. And so I did just kind of, I think, not even consciously, but shut it down a little,
Hmm.
um, just to prevent low vibes
Hmm.
coming towards me. You know what I mean? Not have that opening, not have myself that open.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I
but
love
that's
that you brought that up because I recently um interviewed a for an upcoming episode. I interviewed a world-renowned psychic medium, and that is one of the things she talks about is people being afraid. You aren't afraid, that's not what I'm saying in that situation, but when you have those lower vibes, when you are depressed, when you are struggling with something in your personal life, or you're grieving a death in your family or whatever, so your energy is low, that maybe it's not always the best time to try to connect, because you may, at that point you could bring in a lower vibrational entity, and that's definitely not what you want to do. So being mindful of that and getting those frequencies higher when you're connecting is a great idea, and that's something
yeah,
that I feel people need to be mindful of and aware of, because but don't be, having said that, don't be afraid, you know and
right, right. Mindful, like you
just be
said,
mindful. Yeah, don't be afraid,
and
because there's
aware. Mhm.
because where focus goes, energy flows, as we all know. And if we're afraid, then we're going to draw things to us to create more fear in our lives. And that's definitely not what we want to do. So we have
Right.
some pretty interesting stories about a mediumship, and personal experiences between the two of us. So is there anything that pops up in the forefront of your mind about your mediumship journey? Maybe some like uh, special story that you would like to share that really stands out in your mind, where you helped someone especially well, or something like, I know that I have a story in my mind that I'd like to share that has to do with your mediumship and mine at the same exact time. So
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I can't wait to hear that. Um, well, there have been times when I have, well, typically I don't just do readings. I don't advertise. I don't typically just offer. If spirit has a message to give, then I give the message.
mhm,
Um, but sometimes I have been, I've been known to do a reading here and there. And it's normally because I just feel compelled. I maybe don't necessarily have an exact message, but it's just like I feel like they need a reading. So I've done that a couple times for acquaintances. And it really did bring them healing that they needed, and they didn't even realize they needed it. So that makes me, feel so good.
yeah,
That's why I have this gift, is to help people heal with their grief, or it could be other things as well. And spirit may just be helping them deal with something else,
Right.
and me just being, that medium.
Right.
So,
That facilitator.
but yeah, there's been a couple times, like I said, a couple times that I've been able to help, and makes me feel good.
Yeah. Is there a particular story that you'd like to share of something specific that happened?
Um, Gee, there you go, putting me on the spot.
That's okay. We can skip ahead and talk about the other story if you'd like. I think people will get a
All
giggle
right.
out of it. So we talked about
Okay.
how sometimes as mediums we don't pay attention to the signs that we're getting or the voices that we're hearing, or and sometimes when we do that, if we're close with someone like Jess and I are close with each other, that spirit may go visit our friend to get our attention.
Oh
So
yeah.
I knew you would remember it when I started
Oh
talking
yeah, for
about it.
sure.
So when Steve and I were living in Ocala, we had a sliding glass door and we had this small backyard that was fenced in. And when I would be doing dishes, I would look outside and I would see this man walking around in the backyard, and he would look at the house, but he would never come and he would never say anything. Now, I'm going to rewind just a little bit to say I see spirit and have since I was a small child. And I see spirit in every way you can see spirit, the transparent, the orbs, the misty, like little kind of what we call them, like cloudy, misty forms,
Mm-hmm.
shadows. And I also see them as if they were actual people, like we're sitting here right now. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing this man walking around in the backyard, and I knew it was a spirit. So I'm watching this man walk around, and then he would just disappear. And he did this for about a week, and he would just kind of like pace in the backyard, and he would just pace up. And I thought he would never say anything to me. I thought, who is this guy and what does he want? Because like he never comes in, he never really looks at me for like more than a second or anything. And then this one day, um, it's like he marches towards it was so freaking funny to me too. Like he's marching towards the sliding glass door, and he literally bumps into it and bounces off of it as if he's a human, because a spirit would have just whooshed right through the door, right?
Yeah.
But this guy
Yep.
literally bumps into the door and bounces off of it. And I'm like, okay, like what is going on? Because this dude won't talk to me. He's not saying
It's
anything
such
to
wow.
me. So I get my phone out and I'm like, Jess, there's this guy that has been in my backyard for about a week and he just bounced off my sliding glass door. And she texts me back and she goes, oh, I think that's for me.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said that, this guy starts talking to her because she opened that gateway so that he could talk to her. And
Yeah.
she's like texting me back. You remember you texted me back and she says, well, I wonder why he wasn't just talking to me. And in my ear, I hear this voice go, because she wouldn't fucking listen. So I texted
Yeah.
Jess and I'm
Yeah.
like, he said, because you wouldn't fucking listen. And she's like, oh. But
Yeah.
then he
Oh,
did have a
okay.
message. Y'all had quite the conversation, didn't you? And quite some
Oh
little
yeah.
reminiscing
Yeah.
moments there.
Mhm. Yep. It was a friend who had passed away, probably around 6 years ago. And yeah, I guess I wasn't paying attention, but I was happy to hear from him. Oh, that's so funny.
That was funny. And out of all of the experiences with spirit I have had, that is the first time that I've ever seen one bounce off of a door of any kind. Like they just
Yeah.
usually would just swoosh right through it, because they can. So I thought it was so funny that he literally was just like, I need you to listen to me, but I'm not coming in because I don't want to invade your space.
Yeah. Yeah. The bouncing off the door, that's yeah. That's so I knew who it was.
Yeah, you immediately knew who it was. It was funny because he didn't
Mhm.
tell me a name or anything, but as soon as I told you about him, you were like, ding.
Yep. Yep. Just wasn't paying close enough attention, I guess. We get, so distracted by our day-to-day life and Sometimes we just need that, slap upside the head.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. We get distracted with things and we get busy and we get, caught up in normal human emotions. It'd be great if we could be like in that upper vibration all the time, but that's just, not the human factor doesn't allow for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you know, uh that one of the things that has helped me exponentially in my journey very recently, and you and I talked about this before, is my realization that I had to make friends with my human self because I
Mhm.
love being in the stratosphere with spirit because everything is so free. There's no limitations, there's no judgment,
Right.
there's all this love, and it feels so nice. And then when you
Mhm.
kind of slip back into this human body, it's like immediately you feel all these limitations and you feel
Yes.
the humanness of everything. Like it's so different. And I
Mm.
really had to make friends with my human self. And y'all, when I say this, I don't mean I'm looking in the mirror and looking at my actual body and saying I like this, I don't like that. That's not what I mean. I mean the actuality of just even having a human body. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes. So that's a huge factor that we have to contend with. And it's something that I guess I've probably thought about it before, but I never had the realization that, hey, I need to make friends with my human self because I've actually had experiences where I've been out in the stratosphere and come back into my human body and actually felt like I was underwater, like I couldn't breathe, like I felt like I was suffocating.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. And I thought, like, why do I feel this way? But that's what it is because you feel those limitations of your
Yeah.
humanness when you come back into your body like that. And you have to make friends with that so that transition is a lot easier for you. So I don't have the experience of that anymore where I feel like I can't breathe. It's just like, and even our first guest that's coming on the next episode says that if you do any of her meditations, and she has some amazing meditations, and I'm going to be including links to those after her in her episode description box and periodically for that some of the other episodes where we're discussing some of them. But at the end of her meditation she'll say, do something human. She'll say, breathe, like take a deep human breath so that you feel
Mhm.
yourself back in your human body. Because I mean, I'm not even joking. These are the best meditations. They are beyond anything I've ever done before. They're transformational. And you do feel yourself come back into your human body at the end. Like
That's
it's a,
amazing.
it is
That is just
amazing.
amazing.
But she'll say, take that breath, get a drink of water, get something to eat, get up, walk around, do something human so that you feel like you're back in your human body again and you recognize that. And it's amazing. It's so powerful.
That sounds so cool. I know you had sent me a link for one particular meditation. Um, and you're gonna have to send it to me again because today would be a great day for me to try it. It's kind of quiet now, and
Yeah.
I don't get to meditate like I would want to, but I think things will be settling down around my home front, so might make it a little easier.
Yeah.
But you talking about, coming back down into your body just made me think of like near death experiences or out of body
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when would you compare it to that, like an out of body experience, these meditations that you've done where you can feel like you're coming back into your body?
Yeah, I would compare it to that. I've not consciously astral traveled, but you and I've talked about how when
Oh
Steve and
yeah.
I lived in the RV, I keep my nail like I'm not a real girly girl, so you can see I don't like paint my nails or I don't have never had fake nails on or anything like that, but I keep my nails very clean. And I would go to
Hmm.
bed at night with my clean nails This is so funny to me. And I would wake up in the morning and my nails would be so dirty underneath them. Like I had been digging in the dirt. And I'm like, what the hell did I do while I was sleeping last night? You know what I mean? Because we lived in an RV and we have a big
Yeah.
dog. So like if I was to get up and like leave the RV in my sleep, like a sleepwalking situation,
Yeah.
Steve would have heard
You'd
me.
have woke somebody
I
up.
would have woke somebody up. You know what I mean? Especially if I
Yeah.
when I came back in, because the dog would have definitely started barking, and woke Steve
Hmm.
up. So I don't know what the heck I was doing. So I've never consciously astral traveled before, but I would be, I would liken it to that. If I had, I would think that it would be very similar to that feeling of
Yeah.
coming back into your body. Yeah.
Do you remember the experience I told you about many, many years ago? That I'd had, oh my goodness, Charlie was just a baby. So um, I think it was a near death experience, just because of the way I woke up. But I had taken CNA classes, certified nurses aid classes, and during the clinicals, I was assigned to a particular patient who was on hospice, and she had uterine cancer. And it was pretty traumatic for me. Well, about 6 months later, I remember I it felt like a dream. Now I don't think it was a dream, but at that time I thought it was a dream. I kind of woke up. The start of this dream is I woke up. I was laying like in the fetal position on a gurney in a room that really didn't have much in it, but across the room was a low bed, like in the nursing homes. They had low beds, um, so that the residents who moved around a lot in their sleep wouldn't, if they fell out, it wouldn't hurt. And there was also a mat on the floor. Anyway, um, so I get up and I walk over to this bed because there's a woman in there crying, and it was that patient or that resident that I'd had in my clinicals 6 months earlier. And I kind of tapped her on the shoulder and I said, "It's okay, so and so, it doesn't hurt anymore." And she stopped and kind of just looked at me and got up and walked out of the room.
Wow.
And I got up and, well, I mean, I was already up, but I kind of just stood there for a second and I walked after her, and I go out of this room and it looks like I'm in like either a nursing home or a hospital. I would say closer to a hospital. I look down to the right, it's a long hallway. There's like a nurse's station, and I have no idea where this woman went. And I look to the left, and it's another long hallway, but kind of goes off into, I don't know, like ends and shadows, I guess you could say. But I go to the left because there's another door right next to the one I just came out of. And I go through this door, and it's like a waiting room, like a lobby or a waiting room to a doctor's office or something, or like, a surgery waiting room for family. And I see my grandpa, who has been deceased for a couple years at this time, um, with his back to me in front of this magazine rack, like thumbing through a magazine. I mean, he had his fishing hat on and his jacket. And I mean, I knew it was my grandpa. And I was like, "Grandpa?" And he turns around and looks at me, really surprised. And he's like, "Jesse?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And no sooner than he said that, this young man, I mean, older than me, but not, older, comes in between us. It was like a matrix scene. I mean, you could see like the tracers afterwards right here in front of my face, like that, and pushes me back. He says, "You are not supposed to be here yet," and shoves me back. And I wake up gasping for breath, like,
Wow.
just, and and now I think it was a near death experience. I really do. I think that I
Wow.
stopped breathing in my sleep, and my grandfather was there to pick someone up. He didn't know who. And when he saw me, he was like, "Whoa, you're not." And it just
That
wasn't
is
my time.
crazy. I don't remember you ever telling me that story. If you did, I don't remember it. And I would think that I would remember that. the
Yeah,
tracers
yeah.
with the younger guy coming in, because like that's how fast he was
Oh, it
moving,
was
just like was leaving trails.
yes.
Wow, he's like,
Yes.
no, get back. The fact that he pushed you
Yeah,
like
he said
that
it was
and
like, "You are
almost
not supposed to be here yet," and pushed me back.
uh
I got goosebumps just telling you that.
yeah, I have goosebumps all the way down to my freaking ankles right now. That's crazy. Like that almost was
Yeah.
like a defibrillator effect when he pushed you, like that energy just kind of like
Yeah.
put you right back in your body
Yeah,
and
like,
started
filled
you up
my
again.
lungs again. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because
Wow.
I just remember waking up gasping like that, like, just taking the longest, deepest breath, but you could hear, hear that.
Uh,
It was and then, yeah, I woke up gasping and coughing, and, it was weird. It was really
yeah,
weird.
I'm sure.
But
That's
now
crazy. Wow, that's a cool story. That
yeah.
is a really cool
I
story.
know, I told you I had to. That's so crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like I don't remember it. If you did, something blocked it out of my memory. Maybe it was because of
Yeah.
the surprise factor for this episode. Way back then, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything leads us to where we are, so everything is connected. So it's pretty interesting. So I love the fact that you're a medium. You and I have talked about this so much. And what do you feel like your vision is for your mediumship? Do you have a vision for your mediumship?
Oh. Um, I mean, I know you've heard me say before, I would love to be like the next Teresa Caputo. She is absolutely amazing. But I was so nervous just doing this podcast. I don't I don't know how I could be up in front of, all those people doing that. You know, I I'm not sure. I guess I don't really have much of a vision for it other than, my dream, I guess you could say, my secret dream. But
Not a secret
for
anymore.
now I just yeah, right. Oh dear. No, but for now I just, I give messages as they come. And if I feel someone, needs a reading, I will of course offer one. Just doing what I'm called to do right now. I think if I were to get on that level or start climbing to that level, even long before that much, it would take a lot of time away from my daughter, and I still am raising her, and just got to provide as much stability as I can for her right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could always limit your time and you'll know what to do though. But I mean, if you need a
Oh,
platform
absolutely.
to get a little more used to being in front of a camera and an audience, you now have one. You know that, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And another thing that you haven't mentioned that I would like to tell people about you is that Jessica does amazing picture readings. So, like, if she gets,
Oh,
I send her pictures frequently and go, hey, will you read this picture for me? So, she does amazing picture readings. So, tell us about picture readings. Explain to people what that is if they don't already know.
okay. Well, for me, when I look at a picture, I get, again, like pictures or movies running through my mind. I can also feel things about the person, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I can tell them, just a lot about themselves. I That's kind of different than the mediumship part of it. But yeah, that's kind of one of them that I've gotten pretty good at practice through practice is the picture readings. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And thank you for doing all the ones for me that I've asked you to do because it's,
Anytime.
sometimes it's like you know something and I've been like I'll tell you about that in a second, but sometimes when you see something yourself you just want affirmation that you're on the right track. So and that's a
Yep.
lot of the times why I've sent you pictures. It's like I know what I feel from this picture. I want you to look at it and tell me if I'm on point. And then
Mhm.
99% of the time probably, or at least 98% of the time, it's exactly the same. What you say, you
Mm,
might say it in different words, but you're saying the same thing about it that I
right.
feel. So it's really nice to have that, although I'll get back to this. Uh, I've been chastised. One of my future guests is actually the gentleman who gave me my very first intuitive reading. And I'm super excited about him coming on as a guest on the show. I'm really excited. But during our pre-chat, when I scheduled him for the show, he kind of told me, he gave me one of these because he's very sweet with the way he says things. He's very sweet, but he's very to the point. And he's like,
Yeah.
basically, you don't need anyone helping you with this, D. Like you got it. Get rid of your ego. Your ego is getting in the way, and you need to listen. You know the answers. You need to listen to spirit giving. Basically, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you need to listen to spirit giving you the answers because you have the answers already. Just need to.
Well, see, now spirit, Dave used to tell you the answers are inside of you.
Yeah.
And he wasn't very specific, was he?
No, no. Okay, so for those of you who don't know who Dave is actually oh my gosh, I love Dave. Dave crossed over in 2014, so he's been on the other side for a while, but he is the person who is, I would say, probably responsible for my spiritual growth. He was a very good mentor to me, and he was this big, huge bear of a guy, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people called him Bear. And he was this huge bear of a guy, and he was a Reiki master, and he was just like, I loved him. He loved me, and he always called me baby. And when he wasn't calling me D, and it was baby, not D. And but
Oh,
he used to always tell me when he was earthbound, and he's told me since he's crossed over too, but he always would tell me when he was earthbound, D, the answer's inside you. And I would get so frustrated by that. Sometimes like it would literally piss me off. It'd be past frustration and full on pissed offness because I'm like, I would tell him, well, then Dave, tell me what it's hiding behind because I can't find it, you know? But the truth of the matter is the more inward you go and you look
mhm.
around and it's all about getting curious and asking yourself these questions. And the more you dig around, you find those answers. You do. And it's amazing. And the wonderful thing about finding those answers inside yourself is that they have so much more impact than
Oh,
someone
yes.
telling you. It's like when you're raising a
Mhm.
teenager, you try to guide your teenager and your child, you try to guide them and you want them to learn from your mistakes, but they want to go their own way because the lesson that they learn when they do it and fall on their ass or their face or whatever happens, that lesson of the falling and that impact is so much more profound for that teenager. Then they
Yeah.
get up and they have to go through you know the emotions of having that fall, because we all
Yep.
do. But
Yep.
that lesson never leaves them then. That
No.
lesson stays with you always then. And
Yeah.
that's the importance of having that, learning those answers for yourself, because people can tell us stuff all day long. And
Yeah.
I love listening to people's stories, but it's not the same as
No.
experiencing it at all.
Oh, not at all. My former mother-in-law always used to say, if you don't want to listen, you're gonna feel. And that's the truth. That is the
Yeah,
truth.
it is absolutely. My daddy's granny told him something similar, but in different words. She would tell him, "But with your own head, Donnie, but with your own head." You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I'm not saying stubbornness runs in my family or anything, but
No, not at all.
but that's
Oh,
okay. That's okay. So, yeah, it's really exciting to me. This journey of spirituality is so much fun. It's so much, like, I can't say I haven't had frustrations with it, and I know you have too. And anyone
oh,
who's
absolutely.
on it there's gonna be periods of time where you're like, just, or you want to understand. Um, but it's been so amazing. It's been so
Mhm.
amazing, and it continues to be amazing. And every single thing I learn and every single experience I have,
Yeah, and it's never ending. I don't think any of us will ever, know it all. It's a
right?
continuous journey, just keeps going and going. And it's just you're always learning something new. It's exciting.
It is. It's very
Yep.
exciting. And, some of the
Awesome.
lessons come harder than others, obviously, because we are
Yes.
stubborn humans, and sometimes our ego gets the best of us, and we think that we know better than spirit, and we don't. We don't.
Oh, heck no.
We just
Absolutely
don't.
not.
We just I mean, how many times do we go back and say, "Man, I really wish I'd listened to my intuition?" And we like to call it
Oh, man,
red flags. As humans, we like to call it red
yeah.
flags. If I had just paid attention to those red flags, that was your intuition. Come on, you know.
Yep. That gut feeling. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that gut feeling. It's amazing. And I one of the things I love too that I want to bring up to people is that you are more open as you raise your children. Well, your daughters are your older daughters are, on their own now and out of the house and
Mhm.
things like that. So, but they're very spiritual, both of them. And you're raising
Yes.
your youngest daughter who gets the benefit of having a mom who is spiritually open, which I think is just amazing to me. So, how do you feel like that has affected your life and your interactions with your daughters as far as being a mom who's spiritually open like that?
I think it makes us a lot closer than maybe some other, I don't know, mother-daughter relationships, because I am so open about it. But I've always, even before I started um, my spiritual journey, I've always been very, very honest with my kids, as I, want them to be honest with me. So being open about it and teaching them, I think, has kind of given them the enough knowledge and independence to make their own choices and start their journeys sooner than I did, so
Yeah,
that hopefully they'll be, further along than I am once they're my age. Um, so that's one of the big benefits, I think.
yeah,
And I'm trying. Luckily, my youngest, she was a baby when it started for me. So as she's grown, I've grown as well and taught her, and she's something else. She
okay,
asks questions a lot, which I love.
yeah,
I love answering, and sometimes I don't always have the answer, which is okay. But tell that to a preteen with the question, they want that
right,
answer.
yeah,
So it's I'm kind of like I don't know, but maybe we can find out together.
yeah. That's so cool. I think it's amazing because I just think, and I've mentioned this to a couple different people this week, that if I had had a mom or a dad or both that was open, but my parents were super religious. So this was like a big no-no. Like you didn't pursue this kind of stuff. You didn't talk about this kind of stuff, or you were going to get like
Right.
smitten or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And, but if I felt
Fire
like if I
brimstone.
had
Yep.
Yes, fire and brimstone, girl, raining down on me, or I was going to combust into it or something and just burn up right on the spot. But I feel like if my parents had been more open and I was able to talk to them about this kind of stuff, that my journey would have been so different because,
Hmm.
you know, I was so afraid. I wasn't afraid of spirit. I've never been afraid of spirit. I saw my first spirit when I was about 4 years old, and I wasn't even afraid.
Yeah.
I just stood there and looked at her and watched her walk across the room. It was no big deal to me. Like it was just like, well, there's a lady walking across
Okay.
the room. Okay. I mean, she turned and looked at me, and I just looked at her, and then she went on her way. It was just like normal to me. It always felt normal to me. But if I had had someone that I was able to talk to about it, and that was able to teach me more about it, and I'm still learning. Like I've been
Oh,
experiencing this for decades, but I'm still learning, and I'm still, growing that connection. But I'm like, if it started at 4 and I had someone who was open, God, I would have probably been given readings at like 6 or 10.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it would have been
yeah.
a
We could have got
totally
a head
different
start.
life. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it's been, here I am 54, and I'm just now starting to give psychic readings and, mediumship. I've been doing some mediumship stuff, but like you, it hasn't really been, and you even do it in a different way than I have, because you'll be more like, I'm connecting and then you give the message, and I'm more like, okay, I'm just talking to someone. Oh shit, your grandpa said blah blah. That was it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's
Yeah.
usually people I know, and then I'm just like, here, your grandpa told me to tell you blah blah blah, and so it's not been
Mhm.
me ever like trying to intentionally make that connection. I've never done that before. So I'm growing into that, which is so interesting to me at this age, since I've been experiencing spirit my entire life. It's like it's
Yeah,
forming this different relationship. And
yeah,
that evolution is one of the reasons that I named my podcast The Eternal Evolution of Self, because this
yeah.
spiritual piece of it is part of that self evolution, and it's just always
Mm,
happening. And that is a beautiful example of how we evolve, you know?
yeah. Well, when I first realized I was a medium, I would get the incoming messages all the time, and I had to learn to set boundaries.
Yes.
I've had conversation about boundaries because they would wake me up at night. They
Yeah.
would. I never forget one a spirit a spirit coming through my room, my bedroom. I'm sleeping, and it sounds funny to say, but they tripped over my baby swing, my daughter's baby swing, and that's what woke me up. And I felt them sit on my bed, and I'm like, finally, I'm like, look, their sleep time, my bedtime, no,
Yeah.
no, just had to set that boundary. No one can bother me while I'm asleep,
That's,
and I've not had a problem since. So I make that connection. That's how I had to learn to make that connection to do a reading. Now that doesn't say, that doesn't say that I don't get random spirit, hey, check this out, or I need you to tell so and so. But yeah, a lot of times it's I can start that connection now, but I couldn't always.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the subject of boundaries, because it's so true. We have to set boundaries. And I'm totally like you, and I've told my people, because I like have people around me all the time.
Mhm.
Like I have my whole own tribe, that's always like around me. I feel them there,
Oh yeah.
even when I'm not paying attention to them. I know they're always there. And a
Mhm.
matter of fact, I'm just going to throw this out there real quick. When I did my interview with the world renowned psychic medium, and her episode drops on the 20th, so y'all be sure to tune in, because it's absolutely amazing. But before that episode, I meditated and I chatted with my spirit people, and I told them, hey, y'all have to be mindful of her time and energy. Do not
Mhm.
bother her during this interview. Y'all just stay back. You can be here, you can watch all you want, just be quiet and leave her alone. Don't come forward,
Yeah.
because so you have to set that boundary. But I'm like you, when I'm sleeping, and I've told my people, like, unless it's an emergency, y'all let me sleep.
Mhm.
Don't come bother me when I'm sleeping, because that's like sacred time to me. Don't bother me when I'm sleeping. And I know a
Right.
lot of people think about, like, when they're taking showers or in the bathroom, or they're having personal time with their partner or whatever like that, they're concerned about spirit popping in, and typically they're not going to, but you can set that boundary, and even just you know,
Absolutely.
just tell them like, you know, this is my time. You don't get to bother me during this time. Having
Mhm.
said that, when you're in the shower or soaking in the tub, water is a great conductor for spirit. Like it is so
Yes,
good.
yes.
So, you know, I'm comfortable having a conversation with spirit while I'm in the shower. It doesn't bother me because
Yep.
when spirit is on the other side, they're not looking at you thinking, hubba, hubba, baby. You know, they're not thinking
No, no,
none of
not at
that
all.
stuff. That's a human thing. That is not a spirit thing. So, but if you're not comfortable with that, you know, you can set that as a boundary too. Hey, like, you know, when I'm in the shower, I'm soaking in the tub. Y'all just, you know, that's my time. I'm gonna put my do not
Mhm.
disturb sign on the door, so to speak, and not chat during that time. But so, you know, setting boundaries is huge. And I always like to say,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't tolerate it from a person, then don't tolerate it from spirit. You know,
Yep.
you get to set that boundary.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. That's funny. In the shower is, and thinking back, I have experienced this for years throughout my life, but I always thought it was just like my imagination. But the clairaudience during showers for me is insane. I
Yeah.
can hear them actually speaking when I'm in the shower. And I mean, I've learned to just kind of, well, as parents do, tune them out.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that is it. The water is such yeah, good conductor. It's and running water even more so.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
It's a great connector. And I think that's like why when you're on like the beach or by a river or a lake or something like that, you may feel more connection to spirit. Even if they're not
mhm,
talking to you, you may feel that more. So
yeah.
it's it's pretty beautiful. I had just had a thought of something I was going to mention and it went right out of my head.
Squirrel.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know. I was thinking about vibes because you and I had actually talked about discussing, excuse me, I'm so sorry. My nose is a little runny today. Um we had been talking about vibes, you know, when we were talking on the phone earlier, and I wanted to bring up the story that you told me last night, and then I have one of when I was in a shop at the flea market that I wanted to talk about. So you tell your story
Yeah.
about your experience last night while you were walking.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, yeah, it's yesterday morning. Actually, I was on the phone with you through my whole walk, and I had my little min pin with me, my little dog, who's not going to do much of anything
She thinks
except
she is
bark. And
though.
yeah, she sure thinks she is. Um, but I was done with my walk, and I was just down the street enough to be in front of my neighbor's house, and this guy comes walking around the corner, and just my dog was going nuts. I mean, she was really, letting me know I do not like this guy. And I turned around and looked at him, and I just got a really, really creepy vibe, enough so that I unsnapped the holster on my gun that I carry with me when I go on the walk. So, um, yeah, I can't explain it. He didn't look at me any kind of way. It was just the vibe I got. And it was strong. It just really surprised me that it was strong enough that I did that.
Yeah,
You know,
without even
I
thinking about it.
unsnapped my holster, and I had my hand on my gun just in case, just in case. But I got in the house with no issue. But I was quiet. I got quiet there for a minute. I don't even
Yeah,
know if you were talking at that point because I was watching him so intently.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
that it was not a good.
yeah. And we need to pay attention to those, honestly, and listen, especially if our dog is reacting. You know, I have a
Hmm.
crazy story that I'm not going to share right now about when my old dog, he's crossed over now. He just crossed over this year, unfortunately. But when he was a younger dog and I was hiking, a crazy story about how he was
Okay.
such like the most laid back dog. He was just the most laid back dog. But
Yep.
he went absolutely nuts one time. And when your animal is going crazy like that, and you couple it with you're feeling that vibe too, you better pay attention. I mean, like, don't
Absolutely.
try to explain that shit away. You've got to pay attention to that. But there, I wanted to tell a story about when I was in the flea market. There's this guy that he's this really friendly guy named Ron. He has this really cool, like, he sells a lot of antiques and stuff like that in his shop. And I was in there with my friend and neighbor, and she's a lot shorter than me. So our vantage points are different, like she's looking at the stuff down here and I'm looking at the stuff up here. And there was this really interesting looking mask on the wall. And it was shaped like, had like a horse's face, shape of a horse's face. And it had horns though, which I thought was weird. I thought, why would they put horns? And then, but I'm fascinated with old stuff and I love wood stuff. So the combination of those two
Yeah.
factors caused me to pick it up and look at it. And I was like, and it had a horse mouth, like the face was really long.
Oh yeah.
And like the
Yeah.
mouth was the shape of a horse mouth. And I was like, that's so weird. And I turned it over and I brought it like an inch towards my face because my intention was to bring it to my face and look through the eye holes. And this
Mhm.
voice said to me, don't do it. Literally out loud. I got this creepy vibe at the same exact time. I hear this voice go, don't do it. And out loud,
Wow.
as I'm turning it around to put it back up, I go, don't do it. Got it. And I stuck it up there. And at that moment, my hands started prickling like I had grabbed a cactus.
Wow.
They prickled so hard and I'm like slapping them together and shaking off that energy. And I looked at my neighbor and I'm like, did you see that? And she goes, I heard you say don't do it. And she's like, what happened? And I told her, I'm like, oh, I said, I got to get away from that. It was
Wow.
so
That's wild.
strong. Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
what would have happened? What would have happened if I had put that to my face and looked through that? Like,
I don't know, but glad you didn't.
I'm glad I didn't too. Absolutely. But so, it's
Woo.
just, you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff and listen. I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen. Because
Mm.
objects can hold residual energy and they can actually, hold a lot of residual energy and just, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So pay
Yeah.
attention
Yeah.
to vibes when you feel them.
Yeah. I think here we go on a tangent. But when you said residual, it made me think of when we are maybe doing readings, not necessarily mediumship, but um like when I do my picture readings, sometimes I pick up residual and I've learned to distinguish, and that's been fairly recently, I'd say within like maybe the last year, being able to distinguish a residual energy compared to, maybe the active energy of a spirit.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting because it is a different feeling. It definitely
It
is a
is.
different feeling.
And that's what I had to learn to distinguish. It's like, why I kept thinking, this just doesn't feel the same as, or it just feels a little different. So that's kind of learning to distinguish that feeling has been helpful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's so different and it's so interesting. I feel like we could go on. I mean, like there's so many things that I want to talk about on this podcast and everything, but I think we've done a really great job of covering some good ground here today and
I know.
sharing some amazing stories.
Yeah, anytime. It's fun. I was so
Yeah.
nervous, but I'm much better now.
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel that you've relaxed and and it's
Yeah, for
different
sure.
when you first start doing this podcasting thing and stuff. So, but
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's so much fun and I love it. And this is all about learning, us learning, helping other people learn
absolutely.
and and I invite people to ask questions, and we're gonna Jessica's gonna come back, and y'all are gonna see her again. Like, we're friends, and we're gonna, start doing some things that maybe are gonna be a little more interactive too. We'll chat about that, and
Yeah.
because we're both starting really our own journeys about, I mean, we've been giving, these little kind of micro readings to people that we know and things like that. And actually, I think I told you, Jessica, that I gave my very first, like, intense, in-depth psychic reading just over the last couple days. And
Yes. Very
it
cool.
was incredible. And I did it for this lady that I know. I did it for her nephew. She asked me to delve into this a little bit. And it wasn't for him, it was just about a situation. And so I did
Yeah.
that. And then I actually went and met with her in person because I got more clarity about it. And then I went and met with her in person and followed up, gave her, like, here's what I have. I got more clarity because I'd asked for help from the angels, which we will have an episode where we talk about the angels, but we're not going to do that right now because we've been chatting for about 45 minutes now. So I don't want to make this too long. But I went to her and told her, I'd asked for help from angels, and I got more clarity, and here's what I'm seeing. And then we followed it up with a 2-card tarot reading. And
Oh,
it
cool.
was so amazing to me because the 2 cards were right on point with what I had just told her. And one of the cards, the written book write up on it, used the
Hmm.
exact same phrase that came out of my mouth when I talked to her. And I was like, holy shit, look at that. That's exactly word for word what I just said. I mean, like, it was amazing. I mean, and just,
Yes.
like, letting that ego get out of the way and just letting the message come through, and then having the tarot back it up like that
Hmm.
was absolutely incredible to me. So, I'm at the beginning of this journey, really, I feel like. I know I've been seeing
Yeah.
spirit for a long time, but I really truly do feel like in a lot of ways I'm at the very beginning of this journey. And I'm so excited. I'm going to get emotional. I'm so excited about where
Oh,
this is going. Huh?
I said that's okay. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's me, it's me. I just, like, I keep my Kleenex nearby because that's what I do. The tears come, and it's because I feel everything so deeply, and I have that
Yeah.
connection that just it is it's incredible. So I'm super excited about where this is going to go. If y'all have any questions, I want you to, like, I'm going to put the email for the podcast in the description box below the video. And please feel free to email or comment and ask questions, and we'll get to those and answer those as best we can. And we're growing together. I mean, that's what this is all about. We're
Yes.
growing, we're learning, y'all are learning. None of us have all the answers. The people who think they have all the answers are the people you want to stay away from because no one
Exactly.
has all the
Exactly.
answers. Even if they've been doing this professionally for decades, they still don't. They're still learning and growing, and that's what
Right.
this is all about, is the eternal evolution of our journey. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And if any of if anyone in the group has anything they would like to share or advice, or that's always helpful too, because we all have different perspectives, different ways of learning. So yeah, that could be helpful as well. All
Yeah,
here to learn from each other.
that's right. And sharing your stories is like a great way to inspire people because we all have
Mhm.
different experiences throughout our life. And some of the most inspirational things to me in my life have been the stories of other people. So because it lets you know that it's possible. And
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
that's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. So I'm glad you
Hmm.
brought up the group because I hadn't mentioned it. And we do have a Facebook spiritually speaking group. So I'll drop that link in the description box below the video as well. So please jump in and join us if you would like to participate in these discussions. We also have a group chat on Messenger through the Facebook group. So you're more than welcome to join that and keep the conversation going because, listen, this is one of our favorite topics. That's why we started this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to hear other people's stories, how their journeys started. So let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it, y'all. Don't be shy. And like I always say, and Jess knows this, if you start out a conversation by going, "You're gonna think I'm crazy, but," like, that's
Those are the
our
best
favorite.
ones.
Yeah, they're the best. So, well, thanks, Jess,
Yep.
for joining me today. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see where it goes, especially if we decide to do some interactive stuff, which I feel is coming. And I think that's going to be
Yeah,
super exciting. So, y'all, don't forget
absolutely.
to,
Anytime,
yeah,
as long as
absolutely.
it's on a Monday.
Anytime, as long as it's in between these times, we'll figure it out.
Right.
We all have schedules to keep. So, all right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening, and we hope you've enjoyed this first Spiritually Speaking podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe so that we can get this out to everyone who needs to hear it, wants to participate in it, who is spiritual or spiritual curious. We would love to hear from you and have you participate in all of this. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Mwah. I love you
Bye.
all.